For 12 years, I climbed the career ladder at the construction company Alliance. I started as a receptionist, then became the chief engineer's assistant, and later the head of the procurement department. I earned every step with sweat and blood, working 14-hour days, studying regulations, talking suppliers, and building connections. During that time, my husband Victor was getting by with odd jobs. One month he'd work as a security guard, another as a loader. "Why should I bust my back when I got such a smart wife?" he liked to say, patting me on the head like a dog. His mother, Galina Petrovna, moved in with us 3 years ago, officially due to health problems. But in reality, she was sturdier than I was and skillfully manipulated her son, constantly hinting that I wasn't taking good enough care of the family. "In my day, wives knew their place," she would sigh, watching me leave for work at 7 a.m. while her son was still in bed. For the past 2 years, I led major projects, and the management finally acknowledged my efforts. Last Thursday, I was called in by the CEO, Anna Sergeyevna. "We want to offer you the position of branch director in Podolsk," said Pavel Ivanovich. "The salary is triple your current one, plus a percentage of the revenue." I barely managed to contain my joy. The new position meant not just recognition, but the financial independence I dreamed of. I burst into the house with flowers and champagne. Victor was lying on the couch flipping through a magazine. My mother-in-law was knitting in her chair. "I have news," I announced. "I've been appointed branch director." Victor looked up. Galina Petrovna set down her needles. For a few seconds, the room was silent. "So now we got a company director in the house," my husband said slowly, and there was something in his tone that I didn't like. "Great. Now you can support me and my mommy." He said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Galina Petrovna nodded approvingly. "Finally, we can live properly." "Vitya, now you really don't need to find a job," she said. "Exactly," Victor grinned. "Why should I work when my wife is a director? You'll support us, and we'll take care of the house. Mom will cook. I'll handle the chores." I stood there with a bouquet in my hands and felt the joy slowly draining out of me like air from a punctured balloon. All this time, they hadn't been waiting for my success. They'd been waiting for me to become their cash cow. "And what about your plan to open an auto shop?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "What auto shop?" Victor snorted. "Why bother with that headache when you're making good money?" "No, I'd rather stay home. Maybe help with the grandkids." "By the way, it's time you thought about that. Your biological clock is ticking." Galina Petrovna clapped her hands. "That's right, Vitenka. Let Anya work, and we'll take care of the home." "But Anya, now that you're making so much money, maybe we should renovate? The furniture's outdated. And buy me a car, would you? At my age, riding the bus is inconvenient." I put the flowers in a vase mechanically, placed the champagne in the fridge, and went to the bedroom. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. Behind it, I could hear their voices. They were discussing how to spend my future earnings. My mother-in-law was planning a vacation. Victor was dreaming about a new TV and a game console. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there thinking about how I had quietly turned into an ATM for 2 grown adults. I remembered how often Victor forgot to look for work whenever I got a bonus, how Galina Petrovna suddenly became sick every time I suggested she work as a caregiver, even though she had medical experience. By morning, I had a plan. I got up at 6 o'clock as usual, made breakfast, and got ready for work. I left a note on the kitchen table. "Dear dependents, yesterday you were so thrilled about my promotion that I decided to give you another surprise. I'm quitting. I'll submit my resignation today, and in 2 weeks, I'll be free from the job that burdened you so much. From now on, we'll have complete equality. None of us works. The apartment is in my name. So are the utility bills. Starting today, please. You are now responsible for handling financial matters on your own. I'm moving in with my mom and will be searching for myself. Maybe I'll become an artist or start doing yoga. I now have as much free time as you do. I've blocked the bank cards and transferred the accounts to my name. There's exactly a week's worth of money for food in the nightstand. You'll figure things out from there. You're adults, after all. By the way, Vitya, if you decide it might be worth working, I'm open to discussing our relationship. For now, I wish you a pleasant idleness. Your former breadwinner, Anya. P.S. Galina Petrovna, the room that's now free is a great opportunity to rent it out and start earning income. I'm sure you'll manage. I packed my things into 2 bags, got into the car, and drove to my mom's. On the way, I called Pavel Ivanovich and told him I was ready to start the new position as early as tomorrow, but with one condition. I would work from Podolsk for the first month while I arranged all the relocation paperwork. My mom met me with surprise, but after hearing the story, she just shook her head. It was about time, daughter. I thought you become completely submissive. At 10 a.m., the phone rang. Victor, Anya, have you completely lost your mind? He shouted into the phone. What kind of searching for yourself is this? Get back to work immediately. I can't, I answered calmly. I'm not working anymore. You said just yesterday how wonderful that is. That's not what I meant. What did you mean, Vitya? That I would work while you and your mom spent my money? Sorry, but that setup doesn't suit me. He hung up. Half an hour later, my mother-in-law called. Anya, dear, don't take Victor's foolishness to heart. He just made a bad joke. Galina Petrovna, I said, your son wasn't joking. He seriously planned to live off my money, just like you have been. But we're family, she protested. Family means mutual support, not parasitism. If Victor finds a job and apologizes, I'm willing to come back, but as a wife, not a sponsor. By lunchtime, Victor came to my mom's, stood under the window, and yelled that I was shaming him and the neighbors were laughing. Mom went out and said something to him, after which he quickly got in the car and left. For the next 3 days, the phone wouldn't stop ringing. Victor begged, threatened, promised a change. Galina Petrovna cried about her health and age. But I remained firm. On Monday morning, Victor called with unexpected news. I got a job, he grumbled, at the same company he worked for 2 years ago, as a shift supervisor. Congratulations, I said sincerely. Don't think I did this for you, he quickly added. Mom said she can rent out your room, and I don't want to live with strangers. I smiled. Galina Petrovna turned out to be more practical than her son. A week later, they invited me over for dinner. The apartment was clean. There was homemade food on the table. Victor looked tired but more focused than before. Anya, he said, not looking me in the eye, I'm sorry for what I said. I really thought, well, since you had a good salary, I could relax. And now I understand that money is earned through effort and that you can't just live off someone else. Galina Petrovna nodded. Anya, I was wrong too. I found a part-time job babysitting at a neighbor's, and I'm really going to rent the room to a university student. I looked at them and thought, over these past 2 weeks, I've realized I can live on my own. I've realized my worth and strength. But I also learned that people can change if you confront them with the truth. All right, I finally said, but on conditions. Everyone in this house works and contributes to the family budget. No one lives at another's expense. And I never want to hear anyone say again that they'll take care of me financially. Victor extended his hand. Deal. 3 months have passed since then. I work as a director, enjoying new projects and earning a good salary. Victor works as a shift supervisor and studies in the evenings, aiming to become a foreman. Galina Petrovna babysits and is quite happy. Turns out she enjoys feeling needed. We live together, 3 of us, but now it's a real family, not a setup of 1 breadwinner and 2 freeloaders. Everyone contributes. Everyone respects each other's work. Sometimes I think about that note. Maybe it was a harsh move, but sometimes only harshness can awaken a person's conscience and force them to take a good look at themselves. Last weekend, Victor and I were walking in the park. He suddenly stopped and said, You know, I'm grateful for that note. Really? Yes. I had no idea what a parasite I'd become. I'm ashamed to think about it. I took his arm. Shame is good. It means a lesson worked. At home, Galina Petrovna greeted us proudly. She had been offered a permanent job at a kindergarten. At 70, she discovered her talent as a teacher. That's how OneNote changed the lives of 3 adults. And you know what? We became much happier.